The first crack hit like a shotgun blast beneath soaked concrete. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I stepped onto my porch and watched the entrance road to Willow Creek Estates collapse inward, one slab at a time, as muddy water tore through the flower beds Linda Mercer had spent 6 months bragging about. Red taillights shimmered across the growing sinkhole, while neighbors hurriedly backed their SUVs away from the crumbling pavement. That's when I noticed it. My old fence post, jutting out from the earth nearly 20 feet below street level like a row of rotten teeth. Linda stood there in the rain, yelling at county workers, blaming me for everything. The air was thick with the smell of diesel, wet clay, and ruptured sewer lines as an excavator peeled away another section of asphalt. A county engineer leaned over the edge, then turned toward me, shining a flashlight in my direction. "Mr. Walker," he said, his tone sharp and serious, "who authorized the removal of the easement barrier?" And just like that, Linda fell silent. 3 weeks earlier, that same fence had looked like nothing more than rusted steel with faded county paint. Most people drove past it without a second glance, never noticing the small yellow warning plates bolted to the posts every 20 feet. But Linda noticed them immediately. She pulled up in her white Lexus while I was replacing a drainage marker along the gravel shoulder, her heels crunching against the loose stones as if she owned the entire county. She held up a polished blueprint labeled Greenbelt Expansion Project, complete with jogging paths, decorative lighting, and a picnic area that ran directly along my fence line. I told her plainly that the barrier wasn't decorative and that the county had never released the easement beneath it. She laughed so hard her sunglasses slipped down her nose. 2 days later, HOA contractors showed up with skid steer, bolt cutters, and a signboard order claiming my fence violated community visibility standards. While removing one of the corner posts, a worker uncovered something buried beneath it and quietly called his supervisor over. The contractor brushed away the dirt with his boot, revealing a round concrete cap buried just 6 inches below the surface. Faded county lettering was stamped across the top, with a red stripe running through the center like an old utility marker. The crew went silent. One of them actually stepped back. Linda marched over, clipboard in hand, demanding to know why work had stopped. The foreman explained they might have uncovered restricted infrastructure and needed to pause until the county confirmed the maps. She snatched the clipboard from him so aggressively that papers scattered across the gravel. "This neighborhood isn't stopping over an abandoned pipe," she snapped, ordering them to remove every post before sunset. I pulled out my phone and recorded the entire exchange while chains clanked against the fence. 30 minutes later, the concrete cap had been buried again under fresh dirt, and the HOA landscaping crew rolled in with pallets of decorative stone. That night, my security cameras picked up something strange, water bubbling to the soil exactly where the cap had been. By sunrise, the bubbling had spread nearly 12 feet across the ground behind the new stone border the HOA had just installed. The earth didn't look right anymore. It was too soft, too dark. Every few seconds, muddy water pushed up the gravel with a hollow, gurgling sound, like something underground struggling to breathe. I drove straight to the county records office and pulled the original drainage survey for the subdivision. The paper smelled of dust and old ink as the clerk unrolled it across the counter. There was marked in bold black ink from 1981, Emergency Flood Diversion Corridor, Restricted Barrier Zone, no surface development allowed within 40 feet. Linda had built her entire walking trail directly over a dormant bypass chamber designed to release pressure during heavy storms. Then the clerk noticed something else, the updated permit number stamped in the corner. A structural inspection had already been scheduled for the following Monday, and according to the file, someone had requested an emergency review. The next afternoon, Linda hosted a neighborhood ribbon-cutting ceremony, as if she were unveiling a luxury resort instead a legal disaster zone. String lights hung from fresh cedar posts where my barrier once stood, and the smell of grilled burgers drifted across the new trail as residents casually walked over the buried bypass corridor. I stayed across the street, sitting in my truck, watching county weather alerts flash across my dashboard. Severe thunderstorm warning, flash flood advisory, soil saturation risk. Then I noticed something worse. The decorative stone arch at the trail entrance weighed several thousand pounds and sat directly above the weakest section of the underground chamber. Linda grabbed a microphone and began boasting about rising property values, while kids rode their bikes over pavement that had already started to sag along the center. In the middle of her speech, one of the pathway lights flickered twice, then went dark. Rain began pounding the subdivision just after midnight, heavy enough to turn every storm drain into a roaring gutter. I was in my garage, watching the county flood monitor climb inch by inch, when my phone buzzed with a neighborhood alert from Linda herself. Trail remains open. Minor drainage issue under control. The message appeared at the exact moment my outdoor camera showed water blasting through cracks beneath the HOA pathway, like a pressure valve giving way. The decorative arch had already begun leaning sideways. Then another alert came through, this time from County Emergency Management, ordering immediate closure of all access near the Greenbelt corridor. Someone had finally connected the permit records to the old bypass system. I drove toward the entrance and found county trucks already lined up along the trail, their orange hazard lights slicing through the rain. One engineer crouched near the pavement, touched the surface with his flashlight, then shouted for everyone to move back immediately. The pavement dropped nearly 3 inches in less than 10 seconds. I heard the deep grinding before anyone else did, like concrete dragging across wet gravel beneath the surface. County workers waved residents back toward the main road as rainwater spiraled into fresh cracks spreading across the trail. Linda kept arguing with the lead engineer, insisting the HOA had approved every permit. He didn't even look at her. Instead, he pointed his flashlight toward the exposed edge of the sinking pavement, where muddy water churned through broken concrete blocks nearly 8 feet below. That's when they found the missing county cap, buried beneath the decorative stone border. One worker pulled it free, while another photographed the serial number stamped across its surface. The engineer turned toward Linda and asked a question that silenced everyone. Who ordered your contractors to cover a restricted flood access point? A sharp metallic snap echoed beneath the trail. Then it turned into a roar. Water exploded upward to the center of the pathway with enough force to hurl chunks of asphalt across the soaked grass. The decorative arch tilted forward and vanished into the collapsing ground. Neighbors stumbled backward as the entire walkway folded inward section by section, exposing a massive concrete drainage chamber that had been hidden beneath the subdivision for over 40 years. The stench of wet clay and ruptured sewer lines filled the air as county sirens wailed through the storm. Linda stood frozen beside the shattered HOA sign, while orange emergency tape wrapped around the entrance she had proudly unveiled less than a day earlier. Then the county engineer opened a waterproof case and pulled out a stack of inspection photos taken before the fence was removed. Every image clearly showed the warning markers, the county cap, and the restricted barrier notices exactly where the construction crews had buried them. Linda's face drained of color as deputies were instructed to secure all contractor records immediately. By Monday morning, county excavation crews had sealed off half the subdivision with concrete barriers and flood pumps. The HOA trail was completely gone, replaced by a 40-foot excavation pit that exposed the cracked bypass tunnel running beneath the neighborhood like an underground riverbed. Residents woke up to certified notices taped to their mailboxes, warning of unauthorized construction over protected county infrastructure. Then the real damage became clear. Insurance investigators denied the HOA's claim after reviewing footage of contractors burying the county markers and removing the restricted barrier. Repair estimates climbed past $3 million before noon. Linda resigned before the emergency board meeting even began, but it didn't matter. Deputies carried out boxes of HOA financial records, while county attorneys documented every inch of the collapsed corridor. 2 weeks later, I installed a new steel fence along the easement, complete with fresh warning signs embedded directly into the concrete. One of those signs carried my father's old county badge number beneath it. Turns out, the ground never forgets who chose to ignore the warnings.